The dropship shuddered as it pierced Delta 17's upper atmosphere. Inside, 10 cadets sat strapped in, armored up but loose-limbed. The kind of calm that comes from knowing you're the scariest species in the room, until you're not. Mara Kess tapped her boots together, eyes fixed on the HUD projection floating before her. No comms from the surface. No welcome pings. Just a blank zone that should have been a peacetime training ground. "Still think it's a drill?" asked Juno, her squad's recon lead, slouched across from her. Mara's eyes narrowed. "I think someone forgot to tell the locals we were coming." A light flicked red above them. The bay hissed open. Heat slammed into them as they descended into Delta 17's broken skyline, rusted gantries, shattered glass domes, and a half-collapsed atmospheric processor groaning in the wind. A ghost town dressed as a treaty zone. Cadets fanned out, weapons low, visors scanning. Mara hit the ground last, eyes sweeping the perimeter. Something was wrong. Too quiet, even for a neutral zone. They were supposed to meet a joint security team from the Krillian coalition. Instead, there were burn marks in the dust and no sign of recent patrols. Her boots crunched over a shattered drone, old Earth tech, scorched like it had been shorted mid-flight. "Still looks like a sim," muttered Delta, their engineer, scanning the ruins. "Then let's break it," Mara said. She called up the local comms net. "Dead." Switched to long-wave frequencies. Static. Then came the burst. A garbled, high-pitched voice cut through the noise. Distress code. Human. Real. Hostages, ambush, repeat, Krillian resistance, no escape. The transmission dropped. Silence fell again, heavy and immediate. Mara turned to the squad. No command channel. No backup. Just them. "Okay," she said, voice cool and steady. "This isn't a training op anymore." They looked at her. Not waiting for orders. Waiting to move. She gave them both. "Juno, perimeter scans. Delta, ping what tech you can and sweep for traps. No heavy weapons. We stay quiet, fast, and smart. This isn't war, we're not here to start one." "You're not in command, Kess," muttered Ives, a senior cadet from the diplomatic track. "No one is," Mara replied flatly. "But someone has to act. Unless you prefer to file for permission to die." I'd shut up. The rest moved. They scouted fast, covering half a kilometer through crumbled domes and sun-bleached banners declaring unity through understanding. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Then, near a broken broadcast station, Juno called it in. "Found where the signal came from. And, yeah, you'll want to see this." Mara arrived seconds later. The bodies were stacked neatly, 3 human envoys, 1 ambassador, and a Krillian aide. Executed. Not recent. 2 days at most. "Damn," whispered Delta, kneeling beside the ambassador's corpse. A small datapad had been shoved into his coat. Mara flipped it open. A hollow image flickered to life. Krillian militia, armed and masked, declaring independence from both Earth and the Galactic Accord. The message wasn't new. What was new was the date, recorded that morning. Meaning they were still here. "They're baiting us," Mara muttered. "They want Earth to retaliate. Break the treaty." "Do we pull back?" Juno asked. Mara thought fast. "No. That's exactly what they want. We vanish, they blame us for the execution, say we didn't care. Krillians rally behind them. War starts. Then what?" Mara stared at the bodies for a long moment. "We go full psyops." Juno raised a brow. "Against an active insurgency?" "Yup," Mara said, standing. "We're Deathworlders. Let's give them a reason to believe every nightmare they've ever heard about us is true." Without firing a shot. Within an hour, the cadets were ghosts, scattering across the settlement like whispers in wind. Mara split the squad into 3s. Juno's team deployed high-frequency sonic loops across abandoned towers to simulate heavy troop movement. Delta's group used mining drones to mimic vehicle signatures. The Krillians would think an entire battalion had landed. Mara kept the third group with her. She had a message to deliver. They hijacked a local comm node, still miraculously active, and patched into the Krillian militia's internal feed. The encryption was laughable. "Commander Threx," she said, broadcasting in galactic common, voice laced with calm amusement. "This is Cadet Mara Kess of the Earth Peacekeeping Corps. I've commandeered your surveillance grid. Cute setup. Very 2230s. Your execution broadcast was sloppy, by the way. Lighting was terrible." Silence. Then a gravel-thick reply. "You are a child. You think war is a game?" "No," Mara said. "But you do. And you just invited the wrong players." She killed the feed. Moments later, half their jammers came online. Countersignals flared, drones dropped from the sky, fried by overcharged feedback. The Krillians were waking up. But it was too late. Mara's seeds were planted. Back at the makeshift base, her team regrouped. Juno grinned. They bought it. Totally spooked. "We intercepted their orders, pulling back from the hostage zone to reinforce command center." "Perfect," Mara said, brushing dust from her gloves. "Then we walk in and get them out." Ide shook his head. "That's suicide. You don't negotiate with radicals." "You do when you're unarmed and they think you're insane," Mara replied. "They won't shoot us. They'll try to break us. Talk to us. That's their weakness. They want to be heard. And you'll distract them how? Quoting Earth philosophy?" Mara smiled. "Worse. Earth memes." Delta snorted. "God help them." As the sun dipped behind the jagged skyline of Delta 17, the cadets vanished once more, shadows in a hollow colony. Krillians had come looking for a fight. They wouldn't find one. Just 10 humans. And the terror of what 10 humans could do when no one told them not to. Dust rolled over the command spires of Delta 17 like an incoming tide. Wind howled through the crumbled superstructure, rattling half-dead speakers and loose vent covers. Inside the largest remaining comms tower, Threx Jalvok stared at a flickering holomap. One by one, the perimeter beacons had gone dark. "Status," he growled. His second-in-command, Veclan, shifted uneasily. "Unknown. No bodies. No firefights. Just, gone." Threx narrowed his eyes. "Deathworlders don't go silent. They broadcast their kills." Veclan hesitated. "These ones haven't fired a shot." That was the problem. The lack of violence felt louder than gunfire. Across the ravine, tucked behind a ruined monorail platform, Mara and Juno watched the Krillian compound through repurposed mining lenses. The enemy had pulled guards from the hostage site to reinforce the command bunker, just as planned. Their central node was now bloated and confused, ripe for psychological pressure. "They're jumpy," Juno muttered. "Like they're waiting for a ghost to crawl out of the walls." Mara nodded. "Let's give them one." She tapped her wrist pad. Delta's voice came in, a low buzz of static and mirth. "We're in position. You're live in 3. The first feed went up. Inside the Krillian barracks, holoscreens lit with a live broadcast. Earth-style, grainy security cam footage, a shaky view of Threx's own command tower from a new angle. From inside. Then a voice. Mara's. "You might want to check your vents." Panic spread fast. Krillian guards burst into rooms, shouting commands. No intruders found. No damage. Just the footage, and a slowly ticking clock on the bottom corner. Tick. 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 It didn't count down to anything. But it didn't have to. Veclan stormed into Threx's office. "They've breached our feeds. They're playing games. Where's the source?" "No traceable uplink." They're bouncing signals off abandoned satellite clusters and construction drones. It's like chasing a shadow in fog. Threx turned, his mandibles twitching. It's not a game. It's a test. They want to see if we'll break first. And if we do? Then we lose this sector. We lose the cause. Veclan paused. What if they already know where we are? What if the humans are inside? Threx fixed him with a hard stare. Then they're not soldiers. Then what are they? Threx's voice dropped. Predators. Back at the outer ruins, Mara huddled with Delta and Ives. The infiltration had begun. They're reacting to ghosts, Delta said, smiling. We haven't even touched them. Yet, Mara said. They're still organized. I want chaos. Ives leaned against the broken wall. You really think psychological warfare will get us the hostages? No, she said. But it'll get us inside. And once we're in, I make Threx doubt his own people. She pulled up a personal file, Veclan's service record, lifted from the Krillian archive a week before the op. Let's see how loyal the second-in-command really is. Hours later, a secure message pinged Threx's console. Encrypted. Familiar. From Veclan's private key. Threx frowned and decrypted it. It read. Commander, they know about the failed Drow mission. They're using it against me. If this goes south, I won't be your scapegoat. I have contacts off-world. Give me something to trade. Or I talk. Threx stood in silence. There was no mission called Drow. Not officially. But Veclan had been part of a rogue strike years ago, unauthorized and quietly buried. Only 2 Krillians survived. One of them was standing outside Threx's door. It was enough. Threx summoned him. You leaked data, he said coldly. Veclan blinked. What? This message came from your credentials. I didn't send anything. Threx shoved the tablet at him. Veclan read it, color draining from his face. They're setting me up, he whispered. Or you're covering your tail, Threx snapped. Guards. Mara, watching through a hack security feed, nodded. That's our crack. Inside the hostage's cell, 2 cadets, CLO and Hask, waited in silence. They'd been captured on purpose, part of Mara's infiltration plan. They'd surrendered without weapons, appearing helpless. Now they were playing their roles perfectly. A Krillian guard stomped by. CLO glanced at Hask, whispering, third time he's checked the corridor. They're worried. Mara's pushing harder. Think they'll buy it? Hask grinned. We're Deathworlders. They believe worse. Outside, Mara's voice suddenly echoed over the compound's speaker array, piped in through hijacked feeds. Don't worry, Commander. The screams you're hearing are just archived Earth training audio. We use it to calm our nerves. The sound of chaos, screams, sirens, war drums, blared across the base. Several Krillians dropped their weapons on instinct. Others raised theirs. No one knew what was real anymore. Threx had seen enough. Shut down the network. Everything. We go dark. But everything. The lights flickered out. Communications cut. Screens blinked to black. They were blind. And worse, isolated. In the silence that followed, Mara and her team entered the compound. No alarms. No resistance. Just flickering emergency lights and whispers in the dark. Delta led them through maintenance shafts. They moved fast, silent. A patrol passed, unaware. They reached the hostage cell within minutes. CLO and Hask were already waiting by the door, unrestrained. You took your time, CLO muttered. We gave them better things to worry about, Mara replied, disabling the lock. Time to go. Won't they notice? They will, she said. But they'll be too confused to do anything. They moved like smoke, back into the ruined corridors. Back in the command tower, Threx watched the empty cell feed flicker back online. Empty. No, he whispered. No. A hollow screen blinked to life one final time. Mara's face. Smiling. You wanted war, she said. But this was just a training exercise. Imagine what happens when we really show up. Then nothing. Threx stood alone, the silence pressing in. He'd never fired a shot. And somehow, he had already lost. Sunlight cut through the haze as morning crept across Delta 17. In the Krillian compound, the quiet had teeth. No orders. No patrols. Just silence stitched with tension. Commander Threx sat at the edge of the central operations platform, armor scuffed, shoulders still. Behind him, half his officers were either missing or locked in private quarters. The rest stood frozen in uncertainty, watching as the enemy failed to arrive. Or so they thought. A loudspeaker cracked to life with a sharp hiss. Good morning, Commander. Did you sleep well? Your sentries didn't. Mara's voice floated over the compound, calm, dry, amused. Threx rose slowly. We haven't killed anyone, in case you were wondering. Would have been easy, but we're not here for body counts. We're here to show you something far more dangerous. She let that hang for a moment. Mercy. The screen above the tower sparked to life. The security feed, his own, showed a new angle. Mara Kess, standing inside his central command room. Right where he wasn't. And she was waving. Inside the tower, Mara leaned against Threx's table, fingers tapping a rhythm against the edge. Her squad fanned out, relaxed but alert. No blasters drawn. Just posture, presence, and pressure. Behind her, the Krillian Resistance's tactical database blinked open. Their entire strategy exposed, digitized, and archived. Juno leaned in. We could blow this place sky high. One trigger, and the Resistance burns. We're not burning anything, Mara said. We've already won. They just haven't admitted it. Ives frowned. You're banking everything on a bluff. What if he doesn't bite? It's not a bluff, she said. We're not here to make him afraid of us. Then what are we doing? Mara stared at the command feed, watching Threx below. We're making him afraid of what happens when he isn't. Threx stood in the courtyard, every comm channel silent. His troops shifted uneasily. Veclan hadn't returned from his interrogation. No new commands came. Only that girl's voice, slicing through the air like a blade made of truth. A voice so calm it felt like a weapon. I'm offering you a choice, Commander, Mara said from the screen. You can keep pretending this is a winnable war. Or you can walk away with your people intact. A pause. We came here with 10 cadets. 10. No ships. No backup. And we now control your base, your intel, and your comms. No one moved. Surrender to us. Not to Earth. Not to a tribunal. To us. To cadets. Because we didn't kill your people, and we don't want to. The final sentence echoed through the empty compound like an accusation. The last resistance unit, 12 soldiers hunkered near the armory, lowered their weapons first. They weren't ordered. They weren't even addressed directly. But they saw the command feed. Saw Threx frozen. Saw the girl who broke an army by walking in unarmed. And they saw what Deathworlders looked like when they chose not to destroy. It terrified them more than anything else. Mara walked to the window of the command tower as the white flags rose, improvised from ration sacks and cooling shrouds. One by one, Krillians dropped rifles, sat in place, or stood with hands open. Juno let out a breath. They're giving up. Not to Earth, Mara said. To us. Ives looked stunned. That's not supposed to happen. They don't do that. They do, she said. When the alternative is losing to kindness. She turned, locking the files, wiping their presence from the system. They wouldn't gloat. Wouldn't broadcast. This wasn't about winning the news cycle. It was about proving that humans had evolved past conquest. Threx stood alone now in the courtyard, silent. Around him, former rebels knelt or sat or simply turned away. He felt the eyes. Not of an enemy. Of people who had followed him, and now saw him for what he was. A warlord chasing a ghost of a war that had already ended. He looked up. The screen flickered again. Mara, one last time. Come up. Alone. No tricks. No cuffs. Just conversation. She didn't need to ask twice. The door to the command room hissed open. Threx stepped inside, posture rigid, eyes wary. Mara gestured to a seat across from her. Take a load off. You look exhausted. He remained standing. You humiliated us. No, she said. You did that yourself. We just held up a mirror. You took everything. We took nothing, she said. Not your lives. Not your dignity. Just your narrative. He looked at her for a long moment. You could have killed us all. Yes, she agreed. But that would have made us exactly what you told your people we were. Monsters. He finally sat. Quiet. Thinking. You want us to serve Earth now? He asked. No, she replied. We want you to serve peace. Keep your pride. Keep your culture. Just stop dragging your people into death. And if I say no? She leaned in slightly. Then next time, they won't send cadets. By the time Earth Command arrived 2 hours later, the fighting was over. No shots fired. No prisoners taken. Just weapons surrendered and a base turned into a negotiation site. General Harlan stepped off the shuttle, expression unreadable as he surveyed the silent compound and Mara's cadets seated in the courtyard, drinking protein coffee like they owned the place. He walked up to her. Cadet Kess. Sir. Status? She looked around, shrugged. Situation resolved. Hostages recovered. Compound secure. He narrowed his eyes. By what means? Psychological dominance, misinformation, and a healthy dose of dramatic flair. He blinked. No casualties? On either side. He folded his arms. And they just surrendered. She sipped her drink. People will do anything to avoid becoming the villain of their own story. A long pause. Then, this is highly irregular. Yes, sir. I'll have to file a report. Yes, sir. He looked at her for another second. Then cracked a faint smile. Well done, cadet. As the cleanup crews began securing the compound, Mara stood atop the old command tower, watching the last of the Krillian militia board peacekeeper ships, not as prisoners, but as signatories. Juno stepped up beside her. So, she said. What now? Mara squinted at the twin suns rising over Delta 17. Now we graduate. Juno laughed. Top of the class? We just got an army to surrender to 10 students. I think that buys us some extra credit. They stood there a moment longer, letting the silence settle. Peace, for now. And that was more than enough.